We are towards, I don't know, we're at 5 lines above the Mishnah, 6 lines above the Mishnah. There's a 2 dots Rabbi Yehuda Oser.
That's about
10 lines. Rabbi Yehuda Oser Rabbi Kurim. Now this is going back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that Rabbi Yehuda forbids Bikurim to be given to a Kohen Zam Oretz. I think our Mishnah more specifically said that these are Yehuda said you're not allowed to give to a Kohen Zam Oretz, right? So Rabbi Yehuda L'Taime Kedaite. It was like his line of reasoning to Rabbi Yehuda Amar. So it was the one who said Ein Nois Limosa El Chaver B'Toiva. Rabbi Yehuda said you can only give it to a chaver, and of course you can exercise discretion which one to give it to. That's why it's you get a tova sanah, meaning whichever coin you choose to give it to, you're allowed to give it to. But it must give it to a chaver because it's considered to be one of the things which is the kodshei gvul. Even though it's given the Beis Hamikdash, there's no avoda involved with it. So therefore it has the status of kodshei gvul, and you have to give it to somebody who's makbin into matara. Now it's really, even though you only can eat it in the Beis Hamikdash, well, I think you eat throughout Yerushalmi. But even though it's brought in the Beis Hamikdash, and korbanos which are brought in the Beis Hamikdash can be given to any kohen, even a kohen amaretz, not bikurim because they have nothing to do with the avoda proper. Rabbi Yerushalmi said, Rabbi Kiva Kedaite. Now this is going back to the end of the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that Karshine Tuma, the animal fodder, which is given as Truma, which we learned that the reason we have to give Truma from animal fodder is because animal fodder may be eaten b'shas chag. So it's only Truma d'Rabbanan, not Truma d'Oraisa. So animal fodder, which you give as Truma, so Rabbi Akiva said you're allowed to give it to any Kohen, even Amoritz. Rabbi Kiva Kedaite do Rabbi Kiva Omar. Rabbi Kiva said, "Kol ma'aseh betuma." Anything you do with the animal fodder truma can be done betuma. Rabbi Yossi said, "No, if people take a chalfa sheet to say, even if you were to hypothesize that Rabbi Kiva here does not hold of his regular sheet up, even if Rabbi Kiva were to say, for argument's sake, that you have to make a petahara, shani ohu. Nevertheless, it's different." Meaning you're allowed to give animal fodder to a kohen even as an amoretz. Why? A person does not usually make his animal fodder tummy. Why is that? Because he doesn't soak them in water. So they're never a mukshal kabel tumah. So the reason why not to give regular food to a kohen amoretz because he might come to make them tummy. But animal fodder, he's not going to make them tummy in any way, shape, or form. Why didn't they make a decree? You can't stop at Starbucks on the way, huh? All right, we are on Daf Chav Zayin base. Where are we now? How many lines from the Mishnah?
3 lines, 3.5 lines up from the Mishnah.
We only did 5 lines, so don't worry. Okay? Midnei malo gozru al bukoya. Why didn't they make a decree that bukoya, which is another type of food vegetable, which is only eaten rarely, and a great oppression. So why did they make a gzera that it too is chayiv in truma? So it says, I want to tell you, really just by accident. B'minalein yotzes iman mi Alexandria, because when they brought the bukoya in from Alexandria, so from Egypt, that's where I guess they originally grew. They have to sneak them out of the country. They snuck them out of the country in their shoes. So therefore, the Chachamim were not aware of them when they first entered and glutted the market. So since the Chachamim were not aware of them, they never made a gzeira on them. So they got in through a loophole. When they made the decree on Karshinim, and it seems that perhaps that was the same time when they came into the Bekoya came into Eretz Yisrael so repetitiously. The Karshinim, which was already prevalent in the land of Israel, was being eaten as regular food, although it's normally used only as animal fodder. When was that? Rabbi Yossi Omer b'Yimei Ravon, in the days of a hunger, meaning the days of a famine. Rabbi Chananya b'Shem Rabbi Rebbe said b'Yimei David, in the days of David. Amrin, they said in the Beis Medrash, Hi Adah, it's the same thing. Days of David HaMelech, there was a great famine towards the end of his reign, and that's when they brought in, that's when Karshinim became edible on a widespread scale, even though normally it was animal fodder, so that's when they decreed that was Chayiv and Truma, and that probably, although I don't know for sure that it's linked, is when the Bekoya snuck in, that other kind of vegetable snuck in through in people's shoes, and they ever didn't catch it in time, and once the Gzera was not made, they never made a Gzera subsequently either.
Wasn't koya also like an animal fat type of animal?
Yes, yeah, I don't know, this
What is it in English?
beats me.
Oh, okay.
It's not. I tell you, now they don't have a Kavanaki, I can never translate these things. It just says here, Min Yerek Hanech Haidei Chak. I assume it's also animal fodder, though it doesn't say here clearly. Okay.
Evaluate alone in his book does
Yeah.
discuss about the period of 115
Yeah.
when there was all sorts of uprisings. There's
115 CE.
Right.
Yeah.
There were a series of Jewish uprisings against the Roman government, where it resulted in countermeasures, including it was very harsh, and there was, I don't remember specifically starvation, but it's very likely.
Well, that would be major censorship if you changed. There's 8 changes from David, from whatever 115 was, Bar Kochba, whatever it was at the time, to David. Maybe it is censorship. I don't know, but David really sounds like it's a funny thing to pick in lieu of whatever happened in 115. But maybe it's an interesting theory. Nita Ish Tkoa. Nita now. Nitai was a fellow from Tkoa. Tkoa is really in Eretz Yisrael, but Hevi Chalos, he brought Chala mi Beitur. Now Beitur is not Beitar, it's not in Eretz Yisrael, it's a town of Chutz La'aretz. And they refused to accept it from him. Achi Alexandria, the people of Alexandria. Hevi Chalos Alexandria, like Alexandria, the low Kiblu man, they didn't accept it from them either. Achi Hartzvuim. That's also Chutz La'aretz, obviously. Alexandria is outside Eretz Yisrael. Achi Tzvuim, the people from Mount Tzvuim. Now, Mount Tzvuim is inside Eretz Yisrael. At least we don't know that it's outside Eretz Yisrael. It makes sense to say it's inside Eretz Yisrael because they brought Bikurim from there. Achi Tzvuim, if you Bikurim, they brought their first fruits, Kodom Latzeres, before Shavuos. Lokim Lam, they would not accept it from them. Because it says in Torah, the Chag HaKotzir, the feast of the feast of the harvest, which is Shavuos, Bikurei Ma'asecha, when you have your Bikurim, Asher Tizar B'Soda, from that you plant in the field. Now, even though that literally is speaking about what? About grain, right? Because the first grain, the Shtei Alechem, is brought on Shavuos. The first grain is brought to the Beis Hamikdash on Shavuos. Nevertheless, since it says Bikurim Ma'asecha connected with Chag HaKotzir, connected with Shavuos, so we link also all Bikurim that they should only be brought after Shavuos. Ben Atitas, hello Bechoros Bavel, brought his Bechoros, his firstborn animals from Bavel. Lokil Meno, they didn't accept from him, and the Gemara is going to ask why not. Now, Allah, you do accept Bechoros from Chutz La'aretz. Yosef HaKohen, Heavy Bikur of Yain V'Shem, and he brought Bikurim in Eretz Yisrael. He brought them as wine and oil, not as grapes and as olives. The Lokil Mena didn't accept it from him either, and the question is why not? He also brought his children, and Bnei Beis was his wife, or wives. I don't know how many he had, but he brought his wife and children up to make Pesach Sheni in Yerushalayim. Now this is a tremendous chiddush. I don't recall this at all from the Bavli, but Hechziru, they made him go back. Shaloikba Davar Chayva. The Gemara is going to discuss it. Women should not bring Pesach Sheni according to our Mishnah. Only Pesach Rishon. They miss Pesach Rishon. They don't bring Pesach Sheni. Okay, the Gemara is going to discuss that. Aristone, Hevi Bikurov Me'apamia. He brought Bikurim from Apamia, which is also someplace out in Chutz La'aretz, but it's in Syria. Apamia is in Syria. The Kilu Imenu, they accepted it from him.
Mesopotamia.
What?
Sounds like similar.
No, Gib, it's not, because here it's specifically because Syria has Kedusha, right? Because We said before that if you're in Bikurim for Chutzlaretz, you don't accept it. From Apam Yakibli, why? Because they said, HaKoine B'Suria, somebody who buys a field in Syria, HaKoine Parvar, B'Parvar Yerushalayim, it's as if he's buying in the outskirts of Yerushalayim, so therefore they accept it as Bikurim. Okay?
That's the rallying cry of Likud.
That's right. We're at top of Kaf Chesem Rav now. Tani, begin the Gemara. Tani Rabbi Chia. Now Rabbi Chia said, Gazru Aleim, that they decreed upon the people who brought Bikurim from Chutzlaretz, meaning from not Bikurim, Challah, from Chutzlaretz, meaning that was Nita Ish Koah, who brought it from Beitur, and the people of Alexandria, it seems, they had to take it back to Chutzlaretz. They had to take him back. Rabbi Bar Zavda, Rabbi Bar Zavda said, Efsher, is this possible? Could they possibly made him take it back? You're stuck no matter what you do in this case. How's how? Orlah, to eat in Eretz Yisrael, and at Yochel. You're not allowed to eat this challah in Eretz Yisrael. Why not? Because some people might know that this challah came from Chutzlaretz, and they'll say, "Oh, this is truma tmeya," because Chutzlaretz is a land which is tamei. Therefore, if you let them eat it, so people might come to say you can eat truma tmeya. So therefore, you can't let people eat this challah brought from Chutzlaretz in Eretz Yisrael. L'sarfa, maybe say burn it in Eretz Yisrael, right? In Eretz Yisrael, burn it. And at Yochel, that you can't do either. Shlo yuomim reinu truma t'metar nisrefes. Some people won't know that it's from Chutzlaretz. People will think that it's true challah from Eretz Yisrael, and they'll say, hey, they're burning truma ta'ira. That's not proper either. Lachziro limkoima, to return it to your place, to its place, to Chutzlaretz. And at Yochel, you can't do that either. Shalo yuomrim, or that people shouldn't say, reinu truma yetzim noretz l'Chutzlaretz. Because we might say it, think it's real truma, and say we saw truma going from Eretz Yisrael Chutzlaretz. Hakeitzad, what do you do? Minichar Pesach, you leave it till Pesach, v'sorfa, and you burn it on Pesach. Amr Shimon Gamliel, Anira Isi Shimon ben Kahana. Erev Pesach, sorry. You leave it till Pesach, burn it with the chometz on Erev Pesach, and there's also, here he brings down from the Achronim, that Achronim say that if it's not, doesn't become, if it's matzah, let's say it's challah from matzah, so what do? You can't burn Erev Pesach the chometz, there's no excuse. Being challah from matzah, from Chutzlaretz Eretz Yisrael, so what are you going to do with it? So he says you leave it until it gets a very profound and well-known tumah. Everybody knows it's tumah, and then you could burn any time of year. So we're looking for an area. So he actually argues with Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia holds that you bring it back to Chutzlaretz, and it's not clear what you do there, but you do bring it back to Chutzlaretz. Excuse me. He holds, Rabbi Bar Zavda holds it's not possible. The only thing you can do, because people are going to think you can take truma outside of Eretz Yisrael, so the only thing you can do is burn it, but you need to have an excuse to burn it since it's tar. So therefore you can burn Erev Chometz with Erev Pesach with the Chometz, if it's Chometz, and if it's Matzah, you can't burn Erev Pesach, then you wait till it gets a well-known Tumah, and then you burn it then.
What's an example of a well-known Tumah?
It was an Orlah mace. Oh, nice.
How are people going to know?
What?
They can have a sign saying this matzah was in an oil.
Well, then people know. People will ask, and they'll say, in other words, Chutzlaretz, when it comes to Chutzlaretz, it's not known. The Chutzlaretz is Tamei. Not everybody knows it. Even everybody knows it comes to Chutzlaretz, don't know it's Tamei. But comes to all mace. So, yeah. Speaking of which, on the way here, I was amazed. I didn't get to only heard a snippet of it, but NPR was having a report on the Chevra Kadisha of Queens. It was amazing. It was mamish. I wonder, maybe I can get off the web later. Probably because it was Ein Adar last week. Yeah. It's human interest. Sunday they do a lot of human interest stuff. This is mamish. To hear it sounded like a very knowledgeable reporter too. Interviewing all the people. You heard a play-by-play of a Torah going on in the background. Though if it's radio, you don't know if it's actually happening or not. But it sounded pretty real. Okay. Says the Gemara. Amar B'Shimon ben Gamliel, Anila Isi Shimon ben Kahana. I saw Shimon Kahana Shreisa Yain Shel Truma Bako. He was drinking wine of Truma Nako. Sha'amar Now, Akko is part Eretz Yisrael, part Chutz La'aretz, as we know. It's half Eretz Yisrael, half Chutz La'aretz. So this is the part which is Eretz Yisrael. Shoamar, he said, Zehuva mikilkilya. This is brought from kilkilya, which means it was brought from Chutz La'aretz. Okay, so it was Truma wine, but Truma's Chutz La'aretz. So you can't drink it in Eretz Yisrael.
Is this the Kilkilia that we know about?
No, kilkilya we know about is in Israel, I believe. I believe it's in the West Bank, if I'm not mistaken.
West Bank, the question.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't think it's Chutz La'aretz, even according to Oli Bavel. Sharmazurva mikilkilya, but besides, he's coming by boat. He came. This Gemara, it's not clear yet, but you'll see in a minute. The Gazru, and they were decreed Orlah. They decreed on Shimon ben Kahana, they should stay on the boat. The Shasil B'Tzvina, he drank it on the boat. So he was coming by boat. So it's obviously somewhere at some distance. Okay, so he made a decree that they should drink it on the boat. Asked the Gemara, wait a minute. Lomar, aren't people going to make a mistake to think? And now the Gemara understood that he landed actually on the boat already, and they sent him back on the boat. So aren't people going to make a mistake? As a typo here. It should be Shemotziin Truma min Oretz l'chutz la'aretz. Shemotziin Truma min Oretz l'chutz la'aretz. So if you tell them to go back on the boat, what people are going to think? That Truma can be taken out of it, because not everybody's going to know that this is Truma from chutz la'aretz. No, Mar says, well, you know what we'll say? Lo Yarat Lako. He didn't go down to Akko. In other words, he never landed. They saw him coming. Ship ahoy! And this is the first question he asked, of course, do you have Truma? so he said yes. So they said, not yet. Stay back.
So was this beyond the international waters?
The frek's good. So now they're going to ask, Eichon Shosio. Wait a minute, where do you drink it? Minachut v'lachutz. Do you drink it from within the boundary or without the boundary? You got a map? You got a map here? So it's interesting. I mean, if you drink it, minachut v'lachutz.
Living in Aleph?
Yeah, Aleph is the better one.
I have
it. You got the idea. In other words, the line would have to you'd actually be pretty far off the coast. I mean, this is like, this is the line. Then it's, we're taking the scale here, it's approximately 3 or 4 kilometers off the coast. Maybe not that much, maybe 2 kilometers. But here's the line, see? The line is the dotted line, right. So if it's a dotted line, so then here's Akko, so actually you would have to drink it outside that line, right? So, although it's possible, maybe, I'm just saying this as a possibility, but I think it's a reasonable possibility, that at the time of Oli Bavel, the line would have actually been drawn, this line might have been drawn for this purpose from Akko to north of Ashkelon, right, where the boundaries were. In other words, it wasn't necessarily drawn this far. Okay, this is for things where Machmir, vis-a-vis Oli Mitzrayim and stuff like that, for where you take off Challah and things, but maybe the boundary was drawn right there at Akko. But I don't know. I'm not sure where the line was drawn. In any event, so it says more, you're drinking from within the boundary or without the boundary. No, Pashta says he has to go back outside the line to drink it, which is a little bit difficult, right? So, how far out that had to be. But you can even say he was allowed to drink it from when it was within the boundary of the international waters. What are we afraid about? Marisayin, people are going to think you're taking a truma out to Chutz La'aretz. There's no Marisayin on a boat. People are not going to think that the truma on the boat was really ever in Eretz Yisrael, so therefore you did it there.
Wait a minute, didn't we decide that Marisayin anyway is for people in the area, but not if somebody's is a traveler going from place to place, that there is no issue of Marisayin for that person?
I don't recall we said that.
I will dig it up. I
Okay.
put it on my computer for that one.
All right, you find it.
Right.
But anyway, here it's not comparable necessarily because the traveler, we're not choshesh what the travelers are going to say. We're choshesh what the people in Akko are going to say about Shimon Bar Kahana.
But he's the traveler.
He's
You
the
don't care
traveler.
about it. You don't care what's going to happen.
Then you have to bring a rye for that.
Okay.
Okay. Rav Shimon Bar Kahana have a mismach. So we have the coffee. Yeah, behind you. Take it. Rishim Makana, Starbucks can't fall asleep on Starbucks coffee. Rishim Makana, have a mismach, Rabbi Lezer. Now once he started with, I skipped. Emasai Shimon ben Kana, B'Yimei Rabbi Lezer. When Shimon ben Kana lived in days of Rabbi Lezer. Oh, that reminds us, we have a story. Rishim ben Kana have a mismach Rabbi Lezer. Totally unrelated to Masechta Challah. Shimon ben Kana have a mismach Rabbi Lezer. Shimon ben Kana was supporting Rabbi Lezer as they were walking down the road. Over Nachad Siog, they passed by a certain fence. Amrulei, Amarlei. So Rabbi Lezer said to Shimon bar Kana, I see Chad Kisam. Bring me one splinter to use Nechze Shine to pick my teeth. Chazav Amar from the fence. Chazav Amar, so he changed his mind and said, you know what? Lo Tesili Klum, don't bring me anything. Why? Amar, because he said, in asi kol barnash meberkin, if each and every individual comes, barnash means person and person, and does this, have a ozil saiga de guvra, the fence of this individual would go goodbye. In other words, the truth is that one toothpick is not going to make or break the fence. And really, you're allowed to take a toothpick from somebody else's fence. But since if you so many people take toothpicks, eventually it's going to destroy the fence. So therefore, it's a bad example to set, and therefore didn't want to do it. Which is interesting, because you're allowed to take something negligible for somebody else's property, and you don't have to chayshish because of gezo. Right?
That's the interesting part.
Yeah. It's right. Yeah.
It's
I'm sure in American law it would not be permitted.
of course it's not permitted.
Yeah. But here it's...
Well, was it a shavar pruta or less? It was less.
As much as
than
sharpruta. It's minuscule.
You took off
Less
the
than
whole-
sharpruta is also to steal, but this is something which nobody's makbid. Because this really has to do with kpeda. If you think about it, this is really a heter in Jewish law for a lot of things. For example, the copying of tapes and things like that, to the extent that their poskim were makel on copying tapes and things, even though American law forbids it, maybe Dina Machusa applies. But according to strict Jewish law, really everything is totally on kpeda. For a person's makbid on half a pruta, then on a half a pruta you can't steal. If a person's not makbid, so then you're allowed to do it. So if a person's not going to prosecute you, like to photocopy an art scroll sitter, right? They say forbidden, strictly forbidden, blah 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 blah. But the truth is they're not going to prosecute you for one page. So therefore, we would say they're not makbid, and that would be the heter to do so. There better be a heter because everybody goes ahead and does copyrighted material, right? I don't think there's anybody in the world who's not makbid, who refrains from doing that all the time. Anyway, so Chazav Amar, we just did that. Sorry. Now there's another case, a similar one. Rabbi Chagai have a mismach Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Chagai was supporting Rabbi Zira. Avar Chad, so they passed by a certain individual, Toin, who was Chad Muva the Kismin. A certain individual was carrying a certain load of kisin, which also are beams of some sort, wood beams, something. Amarle, so he said the same thing. I Chad Kisam, bring me a little sliver. Next to I'll use a toothpick. Chaz of Amar Rabbi Zira changed his mind and said, Lo Tesli Klum, don't bring me anything. Zinasi called Barnash Me, Bisabe Kain. If each and every person came and did this, Azla Muvla de Gavra, so this person's load would be, used up. Now, it's amazing the way the Gemara expresses it here. Look at this. Lo Rabbi Zira kosher kokach. It's not Rabbi Zira was such a big tzaddik. Hello. I can't get over that phrase. Elamilin di yotzron, the shama lon navdinon. The words or the message yav yotzron of our Creator, like in Hebrew would say yotzreinu. He's teaching us that we should do it. So it's like an example which he wants to set. So I really don't understand the flow. So he was a tzaddik, because he's teaching you what to do. Or he's saying it's not that he was inherently such a tzaddik. He wanted to set an example.
He's basically he would have done it anyway.
Yeah.
For himself. But the idea
Since Rabbi Chagai was with him.
Right. No, as if he would have been by, but he wanted to also teach something. But it seems like he would have. He said, "Give it to me."
Yeah.
Normally he would do.
Yeah.
He would do.
So it was only because he was in public or
Yeah.
with okay, that could be. Yeah.
Could it be that he was observing this din from Yiras Hashem and not Avas Hashem?
No, but that's how the Gemara answers. That could be, but that doesn't sound like it. Says not even that. It says just he wants to teach us. Not that he was doing it for Yira. Not Ava, not Yira, just because he wanted to teach us. That's what it's saying. Lo the kosher kolka. So you see, even among Amoraim, they're madregas. And Rabbi Zira, he wasn't the tzaddik. He was the Rosh Hashiva, not the Mashgiach. Okay, says the Gemara further. Achi Alexandria. The people of Alexandria, hey, view Challah-Siyum Alexandria. This we learned in our Mishnah. They brought the Challah from Alexandria. For low kibul man, and they did not accept their Challah from them. Aber Rabbi Mori said, for low Rabbi Chia Ruba, wait a minute. Didn't Rabbi Chia Ruba say that, now, actually I should point out the Girsa here is very interesting. Rabbi Mori said, V'lo Rabbi Chia Rubahi, isn't Rabbi Chia the Great? That's really what the Gemara is asking. Rabbi Chia the Great means that, what does Rabbi Chia do with our Mishnah? Rabbi Chia said that they're going to bring him back, but it doesn't say anything in our Mishnah about not bringing them back. Right? No, I'm still doing it wrong. How much? No, okay, I misread it. That's what it is. Let me go back to the beginning. I have two dots again. That's the end of the kasha. That's the end of the kasha. Kasha is, it says in our Mishnah, not that they made him take it back, like Rabbi Chia said, rather just that they didn't accept it. What happened? I don't know. Maybe it was like Rabbi Shimon, what's his name? Rabbi Bar Zavta said that they burnt him in Eretz Yisrael. Right? Rabbi Bar Zavta says if you bring challah from Chutz Eretz Yisrael, they don't accept it, so you burn it there on Erev Pesach, right? What does Rabbi Chia do with our Mishnah? Our Mishnah doesn't mention that it made him take it back. So says the Gemara, this is the answer. Ava Rabbi Bar Mori, v'lo Rabbi Chia Rubahi. Isn't Rabbi Chia the Ruba? Now, the way the Levi Yerushalmi explains it, that means Rabbi Chia can change Mishnayos. He can change Girsos because he's a Tana. So Rabbi Chia was called Ruba because he was so great that he had the status of a Tana. So he could amend and tamper with Mishnayos. So that's what I wanted me to say. I remember Rabbi Ba Mari, Rabbi Chia Ruba, he owed who he slave, it goes to Levi. He holds either because he amends the Gemara Mishnah, or because he argues on the Mishnah, it's not clear which one, that the Itaka made them take it back to Alexandria with them. So a very interesting usage. In other words, Rabbi Chia, even though he never appears in a Mishnah, right? Never appears as far as I know. I think he actually does appear somewhere in a Mishnah. I forget where. In one of the Masechtot which is not commonly learned, like Eduyos or something. But he usually doesn't appear in a Mishnah. So I might say that he doesn't have the status of a Tana for that. He certainly wrote he certainly edited the Braisos, right? The Toseftos of Rabbi Yechin, Rabbi Yeshua. Might say he doesn't have status as a Tana. That's something we're saying, that he was Ruba, the great. He had a status of a Tana, and therefore he could either argue or amend the Mishnah at will. Okay. Anshe Har Tzvuim. The people, we mentioned our Mishnah, the people from our Tzvuim, have you Bikurim Kol HaTzeres, they brought the Bikurim before Shavuos, Lo Kibul Me'em. They didn't accept it from them. Tinan Tamon, we learned over there, Eimavim Bikurim Mashkin. Now, this really is nothing to do with the Mishnah. I realize nothing to do with the same we just brought down. This is a new statement. It's going really on the next line of the Mishnah. The next line of the Mishnah was said that so-and-so, who was that? Atitas, Ben Atitas. But, no, not Ben Atitas. Yosef HaKohen. Yosef HaKohen brought his Bikurim as wine and oil, and they didn't accept it from him. So on that, the Gemara says, Tamina Tamon, Emevin Bikurim Mashkin. We learned over there that you cannot bring Bikurim as Mashkin. Now, really the question is from later. in that same Mishnah which we're quoting now, the Mishnah which we're quoting now says, Eim Levim Bikurim Mashkin, you don't bring Bikurim as Mashkin, Chutz Min HaYosim Min HaZeis Min Ovi, except for that which comes out of oil and grapes, out of olives and grapes. Meaning olive oil and grape juice, one can bring as Bikurim. So why did they accept him from Yosef HaKohen? He didn't bring orange juice as Bikurim, he brought grape juice and olive oil. So that should be acceptable. So again, the kasha is not from the part we started. Yes, but the end of that Mishnah says that you can bring it if it's olive oil and grape juice. So why did they accept it from Yosef HaKohen? So Rabbi Eliezer said, Kini Masni is the way I read our Mishnah, that Mishnah, the Mishnah over there. You cannot make bikurim into beverage in the hands of the Kohen, even once the Kohen has acquired them, unless they are from olives and grapes. So really, you can't bring bikurim as you cannot bring bikurim as beverages, or beverages as bikurim, even if it's olive oil and grape juice. So what does the Mishnah say there when it says you can bring olive oil and grape juice? Not you can bring it to Yerushalmi with olive oil and grape juice. A Kohen is allowed to press the olives and the grapes, which he receives as bikurim, in order to make olive oil and grape juice, which you cannot do with any other forms of fruit that he's not allowed to press them into orange juice or apple juice in order to eat them. So it says the Gemara.
Why is that?
What? It's not. I think it's not derech. It's not a derech hashivas. It's considered to be a secondary way of eating them. So it's not lemoshcha, as it says by truma. It's supposed to be eaten proper in the most chashav way possible. I think by truma also you're not allowed to make it into any other mashkim. You're not allowed to make truma into any other mashkim except for olive oil and grape juice. You have to eat it as the fruit. So it says the Gemara, no, this is different. Oh wait, not yet. Vatani, wait a minute. Vatani dorach bikurim, derech bikurim mashkel avion. We learned that there is you're allowed to bring bikurim as a beverage. You're allowed to press the bikurim in order to make them a beverage, in order to bring them. I don't know that. I think it's wait a minute. Read. Sorry, I misread. If somebody pressed his bikurim and made them beverage or bring him minayin shavi, how you know you're allowed to bring it? Tamulomar tavi, because it says tavi, extra word. In this line, you can bring bikurim as mashke. So it says more tipater. Under resolved, this is about shalokta mishar rishadam naskayim. This is about where originally when you collect them with this intent to make them bikurim. The kan here, however, lo lokta mishar rishadam naskayim. You didn't collect them originally for the purpose of making them into bikurim, making them mashke. In other words, in Yosef HaKohen brought to the grape juice and olive, it wasn't grapes which he harvested with the intent of bringing bikurim as grape juice, or olives which he harvested with the intent to make them olive oil before he brought them as bikurim. So therefore, they didn't accept this grape juice and olive oil from him. Comes out, I think it comes out obviously from this. Let's say you have oranges which you planted to make orange juice from. Right, that was the whole purpose. As many oranges are today, then you'd be allowed to bring orange juice as bikurim. Why? Because it's meant to begin with to be orange juice. So therefore, you're allowed to bring a bikurim. Not only except should be a case even by olives and grapes, as we mentioned here, where the intent was never to make them into olive oil or grape juice. There, it's forbidden to bring them that way in the form of bikurim.
They obviously had to ask Yosef HaKohen.
They asked him what his original intent was. Yeah. That's right. Okay. Says we're of Asya. Now we're going back to the concept Pesach Sheni. That women shouldn't participate in Pesach Sheni. V'Asya command Dorma. This is going like the opinion that Pischon shel Noshim Rishus. Now we're going to have three opinions. This opinion holds that our Mishnah holds that women in Pesach Rishon are optional, and then Pesach Sheni they go down a notch, and they don't make Pesach Sheni at all. And there are three opinions. Tani, we learned Ha'isha osa Pesach Rishon la'atzma.
The first opinion is that of Rabbi Meir. A woman makes Pesach Rishon by herself. In other words, she can have her own Korban Pesach. She can commission her own Korban Pesach. V'asheni tvei lachim. In Pesach Sheni, she can only join a group with others. The Rabbi Meir. She can't commission her own. Rabbi Yossi Omer. Rabbi Yossi says, Ha'isha osa Pesach Sheni la'atzma. A woman can even make Pesach Sheni on her own. She can commission her own Korban Pesach or Pesach Sheni. Afilu b'Shabbos. And this is even true. Pesach Sheni comes out on Shabbos. I don't think it comes out on Shabbos nowadays, but not to bring in Korban Pesach Sheni anyway. But Pesach Sheni cannot be. Pesach Sheni is Doich Shabbos, just like Pesach Rishon, even for a woman. Vein Tzirich Lomer goes without saying that she's Pesach Rishon. She can make commission her own as well. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer Ha'isha Osa Pesach Rishon. A woman can make Pesach Rishon to Feila Lacherim only as part of somebody else's chabura. Ve'ein osa Pesach Sheni, and she cannot make Pesach Sheni at all. And that is our Mishnah's opinion, that in Pesach Rishon she's Rishus, meaning she's subordinate to others. And she certainly does not make Pesach Sheni altogether at all. My time now, what is the psukim here? My time of the Rabbi Meir, what does Rabbi Meir learn? Rabbi Meir said in Pesach Rishon she's mandatory, in Pesach Sheni she's optional, therefore she has to be joined with others. So he says, Sela Beisavo. The pasuk says Sela Beisavo, Sela Bais. Bais we understand to be a euphemism for a woman. Okay? A Korban Pesach, a goat, for each household, a goat for the woman. So how do we dash that? Sela Beisavos. So the Se is for the Beisavos. Imratzu, if they want, also Sela Bais. So that means in Pesach Rishon, where the pasuk is stated, she gets to do her own seh if she wants, but not by Pesach Sheni. By Pesach Sheni, we assume she cannot make her own seh, and therefore says Rabbi Meir Pesach Sheni, she can only be subordinate to others. My time at the Rabbi Yossi. What's the logic of what's the pasuk Rabbi Yossi? He learns same pasuk, but he learns it differently. Rabbi Yossi, she's mandatory even in Pesach Sheni. He says Ish Sela LeBeisavos. A man brings a seh for the Beis Avos, so therefore it goes without saying that includes the women. Koshkein Labayis includes the women. So why does it say Labayis separately? It's superfluous. So when he learns it, it means that she's equivalent. Since the Beis Avos would have included the woman, and they were singled out, that means they're on an equal footing with men in this. Why is this? Why do we have to go through this torturous thing? Because Pesach Mitzvah Seisha is Mangroma. Yet it's a mitzvah seisha as mangrama, which you're chayav koris if you miss. So therefore, we're trying to reconcile how do we fit a woman into a mitzvah seisha as mangrama, which is so significant, right? And that's of course why we're dealing with these psukim.
What about that the women were mishtatif in the mitzvah if you see it's Mitzrayim because they?
That wouldn't have to do with Korban Pesach though. That would have to do with Hallel, and Lo Pesach. That's what we're have from.
Also, that have to do with the lab rather than the essay.
The lab, perhaps the chametz, maybe I don't know, but I'm not sure. The lab of chametz didn't apply that first year, right? The first year that Pesach chametz and matzah together. So I don't know if later on it would reflect the nice. Matar Rishim Laz, what's actually Rishim Laz is the most machmir. He says each Sela Beisavos. That means a man for lo isha and not a woman.
What about the bias?
What?
What about the rest of the pasuk?
I don't know. We don't.
Beisavos.
I don't know. The Levi Shine doesn't say he does it. I'm not sure he does it. I guess he doesn't darshan bias as a euphemism for women. I guess that's how I would say. It means each Sela Beisavos Sela bias mean for the bias which he's making. I guess that's how he darshan it. It's not explicit enough to be a valid euphemism. Ma Mekayim Rabbanan Ish. What do Rabbanan do with that which it says Ish? Right? Ish L'chor means men, that they are in superior footing to women. Says the Gemara, Ish Prat L'Katan. And they learn Ish is to exclude a cotton. I'm Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said, you know what? Our Mishnah, it's a very interesting thing Rabbi Yehuda is about to say. You know what? It could even be that Pesach Sheni is a chiyuv for women. I'm sorry. Pesach Rishon is a chiyuv for women, not Pesach Sheni. Our Mishnah is going according to Rabbi Meir, who holds women in Pesach Rishon are chova, and Pesach Sheni is rishus. Hi, so why did they let Yosef HaKohen do this? This
You know what? I just realized as I'm saying this, if you needed to have a makor to aser women's minyanim, this would be the place to do it. All of a sudden hit me. Why? Look at this. Shan Yehu Shadover Mesuyam Shema Yikava Dover Chayva. Here Yosef HaKohen was making a public spectacle of having his wife come and make Pesach Sheni. We're afraid that people are going to say that and assume, it must be women have a chiyuv to make Pesach Sheni. So you see that for public policy reasons, they prohibited. I don't think anybody's ever brought this Yerushalmi and tried to disprove women's minyanim. Just goes to show how few Bekim and Yerushalmi we have today. But this is mamish the case. Since it's something which is a davar mesuyam, then if it's a public spectacle, B'nai Moshe says this, you can take a look there. So therefore, we're afraid that a person is going to come to do it on a consistent basis and make it as if it's a permanent and required thing. Okay?
So the argument for women's minyanim is that there is a chov of davening at least once a day, whereas
but not
you were saying that this is optional totally, according to the mayor. So I think there's a distinction.
Schwache chiluk. All right.
So how do we paskin about that?
Women's the also.
No, not women. But
Yes.
Pesach Rishon, Pesach Sheni, it's a chov for Pesach Rishon, and it's.
I didn't look it up. I'm not sure. What is with a little any little letters there?
I didn't see anything.
No little letters. What about by the Mishnah?
There is one by Shanya here.
Where is it?
It's like a backward Z.
No, that's not a little letter. That's the that's for the Mesuras Hashas. But the Mishnah there wasn't a little letter.
There's a vote there.
There was a little letter by Rav Yossi.
Yeah.
Rav Yossi Arayish also Pesach Sheni Latzma.
Yeah, what's the letter?
Shabbos, and then there's a little letter. The Ein Tzrich Lomar Harishon.
Okay, where's the letter going to? Which Rambam?
Oh, hey.
It's got to be going to some Rambam.
Hey? Oh, Hilchos.
The last.
It should be Hilchos Korban Pesach.
That's Bikurim.
No, that's the wrong one then.
Perek Zayin, Hilchos Bikurim.
No, it wouldn't be there. It'd be in Hilchos Korban Pesach.
Hey. Makes sense.
Me Korban Pesach, Hilchos Korban Pesach.
Nicely prepared.
Paskins. Nashim B'Sheni Rishus. So he doesn't. It doesn't seem like he's paskins this davar mesuyam thing here, because maybe this is a special thing with Yosef HaKohen that he wanted to make a big tumult about it. We paskin that they're rishus, but we don't paskin that they're barred from doing so. So it's interesting. So they had to make a point for public policy here, and that's why they asked women's minyanim. Okay, now let's go. Let's learn the next thing. In this business, you can never be too big a kanoi, right? Says the Gemara further. Now I'm going to have a couple of points about this, the public policy issue. Says the Gemara, locate Savin Meimar. Now, this is the next case in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that if you bring Bikurim before Shavuos, it doesn't work. So ask him, locate Savin Meimar, Kodem Shtei Alechem. Didn't we learn in another place? This is some other Mishnah in Menachos. Then we learned that you're not supposed to bring Bikurim before Shtei Lechem Lo Yavi V'im Hevi Kosher, but the evidence brought is good enough. So why did they accept it? Again, Shani Isha Dover Muslim. This is different because it's a public spectacle. Shemi Kava Dover Chayv. In other words, they made a big point of bringing it before Shavuos, and therefore, even though but the evidence okay, in this case, because of public policy reasons, they didn't allow it. The Lokaintin, and then we learn the next case in the Mishnah. It says that they brought the B'choros from Chutzlaretz. They didn't accept it. Then we learn it says Sechta Tmura. It says that you're not supposed to bring a B'chor from Chutzlaretz, but in both Mimini Karbu if they came, so you can sacrifice them. Again, Shani Yisha Davar Mesuyim Shemi Kava Davar Chova. Same idea. Again, with public policy reasons, they didn't want to allow it because this is a public spectacle. Ariston. Asked the Gemara, Ariston heavy bikurim me'apam yah v'kibu imenu. Ariston brought his bikurim chutzlah from apam yah, and they accepted it from him. Asked the Gemara, how can he bring this? Tamatin, we learn over there, Emavim Truma Michutz La'aretz. They're not allowed to bring Truma Michutz La'aretz. If you Bikurim, how can they bring Bikurim? Right? What's the difference? If you can't bring Truma Michutz La'aretz Eretz Yisrael, how can you bring Bikurim Michutz La'aretz Eretz Yisrael? We'll leave that for the scene, which we'll make in a few minutes. Seth, you guys will stay for Mincha. I think I'll have to make. I don't think I'll have minute before Mincha, but after Mincha I'll make a scene. Okay? What? Okay. Let's start Orlah. Now, this is a case of this is our law of Orlah. Orlah, as you know, means the first 3 years that a tree grows, a fruit tree, you may not eat its fruit. The fruit is also ba'noah. You have to destroy the fruit. You cannot derive any benefit from it.
You don't give it to anybody.
Can't give it to anybody. Must destroy it. Okay. Nothing. Zilch. My brother once asked the Tzitz Eliezer a kasha. He asked the Shaila. They worked one summer years ago in Moshav Matityahu, and they were still in the grape business, which they're no longer in. No. My brother-in-law lives in Moshav Matityahu. My brother worked there many summers ago, but I do have a brother-in-law who lives in Matityahu.
That's what because Zev left is
Yeah. So they used to work in the vineyards, which were Orlah, and since you can't use the grapes, so they were throwing the grapes at each other. So they asked the Tzitz Eliezer if that's considered to be the Hanoah, which is also with Orlah. So he paskin was mutter. So that's not the title of Hanoah, which there was also. It's a good shaila.
On that you can say, what does the Gemara say by Rabbi Zera? Local kosher. Give me a break.
Hanateli siago lekoros. So let's say if somebody plants the trees not for the purpose of this is immediate loophole right at the beginning of the Masechta. Amazing concept. You plant them not for the purpose of cultivation, but in order to make a fence at the end of your field. Or lekoros, you plant them to use the beams. Potter min Orlah. You can eat the fruit right away. It's amazing. You can the beams to cut them down to use for furniture. Yeah. No, the first one is a fence. That's the siog. The koros is to use the beams. So potter min Orlah, put your potter min Orlah.
The wood of the tree.
To use the wood of the tree, right? In the no, of course you can cut down the tree. You're not allowed to harvest the fruit. But if you plant it for this purpose, so then you're allowed to use the fruit even during the first 3 years. Is that clear? Yeah.
So people are not going to think that it was
Marasayan. I don't know. I guess people could. Oh no. Tomorrow we'll discuss it. They look different when they're planted this way. Rabbi Yossi Omer Afilu Amar. This is amazing. Afilu Amar Pnimi L'Maichel. You take the same tree and say this half of the tree, the inner half, will be for food. Lachitz on the outer half of the tree, L'Siog will be for fence. Still Hapnimi Chayev. The inner side of the tree is chayiv in Orlah. The outer side of the tree is potter from Orlah. It's amazing. Okay? Hanotea l'siog. And begin the Masechta with a bang, right? Hanotea l'siog. You plant the tree for the purpose of a fence. Ksiv it says, tatem kol eitz ma'achol. It says when you plant any fruit tree. Eshu l'ma'achol chayiv, that which is planted for food, is chayiv in Orlah. The siog, if it's planted for fence. Lekoros means to use beams. Leitzim is the same thing you're using the wood. I guess, not so much for beams, but for wood, potter, you're exempt. Me'ato, that's the case. Also shamacho. True, but let's say you planted for food. Afilu chishav l'siog yechayev. Later on, if you redesignate it to be a fence, perhaps it should be chayev. Nope, it's not. Talmulomar, eitz macho. Has to be a fruit tree. And if you redesignate it for the purpose of a fence, it taka remains potter. Rabbi Yossi says, I can learn from there, but let me learn from a better pasuk. From the beginning, from the initial concept. Since from that which it says, 3 years it should be orel, lo ye'ochel, it shouldn't eat. Don't we know it's talking about a fruit tree? Why does the pasuk then have to go on to say, right? You're going to plant any fruit-bearing tree. So there's extraneous pasuk. Eshulamachol chayev. So in this we deduce, as we said here, thou which is planted for fruit that's chayev in Orlah. L'siyok, if you plant to be a fence. L'koros, for the beams. Uleitim, for the wood. Potter. Rabbi Yoina lamadar misaf. You learn from the end of the pasuk. Mimashem from the end of the parsha. Mimashem shneimar. Since it says uvashana chamishis. In the 5th year, Tochlus Peri, you should eat its fruit. Losif Lachem Tvoso, to add for you its crop. Chiyenu Yodim, do we not know? Shabetz Machla Kosam Medaber, Buzz is talking about a fruit-bearing tree. Matam Lomer Tatem, Kolates Machol. So why does the Pasuk say you should plant all fruit-bearing trees? Right? When you plant all fruit-bearing trees, Eshul Machol Chayav, that which is for food is Chayav. L'Siyog, if it's for Siyog, for fence, lekoros, for beams, uleitzim, for wood, potter, again, the same thing, just different ways of learning the same drasha. Tana Rishon Gamliel Omer, Ba'amed Vorim Amurim, you know what, there's a catch. You're waiting for the catch, right? You knew it couldn't be true. Ba'amed Vorim Amurim, Bizman Shenota, L'Siyog, lekoros, uleitzim, when you plant it for a fence, for wood, or for beams, or for wood, Davar Shu Roy Lohem, something which is suitable for that purpose. Now, suitable for that purpose means that it's a tree which is normally used for that purpose. Sturdy, right? Why don't he plant it like a grapevine for a fence, which is ludicrous? Not the davish ein roy lahem chayev. Then you don't get out of the Orlah. Says more yo samar Rishon Gamliel. Rishon Gamliel is saying good. My time Rishon Gamliel. What's the larger Rishon Gamliel of Rabbanan? My time the Rabbanan who exempt you. Rabbi Zir said, you're right. Even according to Rabbanan, we're talking about b'mishana seder netiyoson. Hi guys, you want to learn some Yerushalmi? B'mishana seder netiyoson. You're changing the way they're planted, meaning that you give them not the tree itself, obviously, but the way they're planted in their arrangement. Le'etzim, when you're doing in order to get the wood, you plant them berotzik. You plant them very close together, because then you don't care if they have enough room to grow, because that's only if you need the fruits, if you need the trunk and the wood, so you don't need to give them room to grow to spread their foliage. Lekoros, if you plant them for beams, b'mishapis, so they're a way of planting them. They used to split the trunk in two while it was growing. And that way they'd get better beams. I guess the trunk would expand, they get two trunks, they get better beams that way. And finally, l'siyog, when you plant them to be a fence, mokum esyag mechicholav, you have to plant them around along the border of your field, right? In a straight row, so then it indicates that it's being planted as a fence. So all these cases, wataka are exempt because of the way it's planted. Okay?
It's Muchacham Milsa.
Muchacham Milsa, right.
That takes care of your problem of...
Yeah.
Right.
That's on Mara's side.
Yeah, that's right. It's clear. 5:35, right? 35, yeah. 5:35. Tani b'shem Raimer. We learned the name Raimer. Kol ilanos boyin l'machsheves p'tur. All trees come to are come to be machsheves p'tur, meaning if you designate them to be a fence or to be for the wood or for the beams, they're all exempt. Chutz min azayis u'min atena, with the exception of a zayis or a te'ena. A zayis or te'ena, obviously the olive tree or the fig tree, they're so choshev that they can't come to become considered to be fences, etc., etc. They're by definition fruit-bearing trees. Now, Raimer Kedaite, this is very interesting chazara here. Raimer is like his line of opinion. It says, Kol ilanos ilan srak, chutz mizayis te'ena, all trees are considered to have the status of ilan srak, except for zayis or te'ena. Now, I have to remind you what this is. This is halacha that when you want to trellis your grapevine. It's halacha from Kilayim. You want to trellis your grapevine. So when you trellis your grapevine over an ilan srak, right? You don't have 535, right, Maishi? 35? 35. Yeah. Because Lich Bench tomorrow yesterday was 525, wasn't it?
526.
What was it yesterday, Lich Bench?
526.
We announced yesterday 535. Anyway, we haven't been yet, so we won't have a problem. We announced 35, so we have to do 35. Okay. Anyway, when you have a tree which grows up and you trellis your grapevine over it, so then whatever is extent you can plant. The question is whether you can plant underneath the other branches, which are not yet trellised over. Remember this, right? So if it's an Elon Srak, if it's a non-fruit-bearing tree, you can't plant under any of them. Because I say you're eventually going to allow the grapevines to extend over the other branches as well. If it's another fruit-bearing tree, so then you can plant under the rest of the branches, because I say whatever it's not extending over, you don't intend to extend it over, it doesn't lose its own chashivas, and of course you're allowed to plant all sorts of grains in proximity to a fruit-bearing tree as long as it's not a grapevine. So now says the Gemara, so says Ray Meir, all Ilanos have a din of Elon Srak, in other words, they're all considered negated, subordinate to the grapevine with the exception of two. What are they? A olive tree and a fig tree. So it says olive trees and fig trees are choshev. Olive trees and fig trees are choshev, so therefore they also cannot have a machshava pertain to them, which takes them out of being fruit-bearing trees. So they can never be considered fence trees, wood trees, bean trees. They can't have such a machshava.
So
Just like they always have din of Orlah, no matter what your intent was, because of their chashivas. Tani, we learned b'shem Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon said the exact opposite. You would see more machmir, excuse me. There are only 3 trees which could become ever potter. What are those? Only 3. He said, by the way, we don't paskin Meir by Kilayim. By Kilayim we talk about paskin that only over an Elon Srak does it lose its chashivas. Over any fruit-bearing tree, the fruit-bearing tree retains its chashivas, and you can plant on the other half. But we're not discussing that now. So it says the Gemara, Rabbi Shimon says, only the following 3 types of trees they can negate their chashivas and make them other types of wood, make them siog, etc. What are they? Rimen, I don't know what rimen are. Shikma, sycamore, and slaphis caper. Ask more a very interesting question. These trees, when you negate their chashivas as fruit-bearing trees, you make them now wood trees. Is the fruit chayiv and meiser? The flukta de Rabbi Bar Melmo de Rabbi Hila. It's malchus de Rabbi Bar Melmo de Rabbi Hila. This spalgan we learned. Hamashame pros of leitzim. Let's say you're growing wood, you're growing a fruit tree, but you're going to use the fruit as wood. So I don't know what kind of tree. I guess like pine cones. You can burn them. They can be used as fuel. Rabbi Bar Melmo Amar chayiv. Rabbi Bar Memel says the chayiv and meiser. Rabbi Hila b'shem Rabbi Yossi omer potter. Rabbi Hila named Rabbi Yossi says they're potter from meiser. So this is the same machlokus over here, right? Wherever you grow something for wood and then use the fruit afterwards, is it chayiv and meiser or not? Rabbi Bar, you know what? We'll stop here for because another 2 minutes. So I don't think I can finish the thought. So we'll come back to this machlokus tomorrow evening. We're finishing this evening Masechta Challah. Masechta Challah is the 3rd to last Masechta in the Yerushalmi. That means that in Mir Tashem within a month, in Zroim, in Mir Tashem in a month, 4 weeks from today, we will be making our grand siyum, and hopefully you'll all be invited, on Seder Zroim in Talmud Yerushalmi. In the meantime, finishing Challah, just a few remarks on Challah, the occasion. Very suitable to finish Challah the week of Purim, because Purim is this is just off the cuff, so it might not be that good, but the week of Purim is the one miracle, of course, for which there's a Yom Tov in Chutz La'aretz, as the Gemara talks about. There's a possibility that the reason why we don't say Hallel on Purim is because it's a Nesha B'chutz La'aretz, Ve'enom Rimshel Nesha B'chutz La'aretz. In fact, the way we paskin is that we do that the Hallel is the Megillah is in lieu of Hallel. In fact, in Yuri, which holds that if you don't have a Megillah on Purim, you're supposed to say Hallel instead. But clearly, the Gemara holds that the Maskana we do say Hallel in Purim in the form of the Megillah, and this is despite the fact that there's a Chutz La'aretz, because obviously there's a great illumination which even was able to penetrate the Chutz La'aretz, which took place at the time of Purim. So to Challah is the one matnas kahuna, the one
gift, which of course we don't give it to Kohanim Bismanazeh anymore because our Kohanim are Tameh, but we still take off challah from dough even in Chutz La'aretz. No matter where you are, you find yourself, the halacha is you take off challah from dough, and it's there, it's unique in that sense among all the matzanos which were given to Kohanim. And perhaps there's also similarity in that challah, Purim is a miracle which was effected by a woman, and challah, well, I asked her, for those who don't remember, and challah is also taken off by women. In fact, the Gemara says, why is challah taken off by women? Since Chava ruined chaloso shel olam. Adam Rishon is called challah because he was taken as kind of, so to speak, a challah from the dust, from the mud, from the dirt of the earth in order to form him and make him into Adam. So challah is representative of that. In order for Chava to be mechaper for having ruined Adam Rishon by tempting him with the fruit of the Eitz Hadas, so women take off challah. So challah and Purim are related in that both of them are done by women, and being done by women obviously makes it suitable to make the Siyum the week of Purim. Now, yes, it's on tape though now. Yeah. Yeah.
My wife did this afternoon.
Yeah.
To me, it's a big problem.
She was machti or she took off challah?
She bought 8 red peppers, and the one avenue by the
Made in Israel.
and they're Carmel.
Uh-huh.
It's a big problem.
So you have a
Be
problem,
careful
yes.
what you're buying.
Yeah.
Those red peppers and yellow peppers are from Israel,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to be in Norfolk.
Right. That you have to have Mavit Shumas and Maisas on because it came from Eretz Yisrael. That's correct.
Be very careful.
Okay, now in order to finish Masech Chal, in fact, the last Gemara is does not talk about Challah. It talks about Truma and about Bikurim. And we learned that the Mishnah, the last Mishnah of Challah, talks about whether you can bring Challah from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael for Kohen to eat in Eretz Yisrael, and because the Mishnah Paskins you may not. So the Gemara says, we learned over in another Masechta, Tamad Tninan, that you do not bring Truma from the Masechta Shvius. It says you don't bring Truma from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael. You're not allowed to do so. The Aviu Bikurim. So ask Gemara, if that's the case, why does our Mishnah say you are allowed to bring Bikurim from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael? Now both of these are the Rabbanans. Truma and Chutz La'aretz is the Rabbanan. Bikurim, if it's applied to Chutz La'aretz, is the Rabbanan. But Truma, you're not allowed to bring from Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz, and Bikurim you are. What's the difference? So the Gemara gives a very interesting answer. Rabbi Yesha says Bikurim is Bachrayus Bailim. Bikurim is brought to Eretz Yisrael by the people who own the Bikurim. In other words, Bikurim is brought at the discretion of the owner, and he brings it up to Eretz Yisrael to the Beis HaMikdash, and only then can the Kohanim get a hold of it. Truma, we have halacha that Truma can be given to the Kohen already at the barn. And in fact, the meaning of Kohanim was to go around to the barns and to the silos to ask for the Truma. They would go out to ask for a handout. So therefore, says the Gemara, Truma ain't a bachrayus bailim. Truma is not under the jurisdiction of the owners, meaning that a Kohen can come to the barn or to the silo and ask for it. If you say you're allowed to bring Truma from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael, so the result will be that Kohanim will go to Chutz La'aretz and ask for the Truma of people in Chutz La'aretz. And we don't want Kohanim to go to Chutz La'aretz because Chutz La'aretz is Tameh because of Eretz Tameh. In fact, it's I heard once, I think it was Rav Kook who said, it was in fact himself a Kohen. I think he's the one who said that the heterim which you find in the Gemara, which is the heterim for which to leave Eretz Yisrael, for Lisa Isha, for Parnasa, and Lium Torah, that's for Kohanim. For Yisrael, it's mutter to leave Eretz Yisrael at his discretion, even for a pleasure trip. But for a Kohen, it's only mutter for these 3 things, because for a Kohen to be Matami Tumas Eretz Amim, it's taka a problem. Otherwise, so Shaila, how Kohanim can take vacations? If they live in Eretz Yisrael, they can take vacations in Chutz La'aretz. Might it's not a Shaila, it's probably also. But that's for the Kohen. Since the Kohen's not supposed to leave Eretz Yisrael because of Tumas Eretz Amim, so therefore we don't give Kohanim Truma and Chutz La'aretz, so they shouldn't go and try and get it out of Chutz La'aretz to become Tameh as a result.
Yeah, but it seems that all the Xeris and Tumatar still apply to Kohanim. The Tumas Eretam is based on Mason, right? The Tumas based, so it could be it still applies. Okay. Hajlach Meseches Challah v'Adrochlon, Datlach Meseches Challah v'Datochlon, Lo Nisan Hashem Noch Meseches Challah v'Klis Hashem No Lo Ba'amadem Lo Ba'amadasi. Hadlach Meseches Challah v'Adrochlon, Datlach Meseches Challah v'Datochlon, Lo Nisan Hashem Noch Meseches Challah v'Klis Hashem No Lo Ba'amadem Lo Ba'amadasi. Hadlach Meseches Challah v'Adrochlon, Datlach Meseches Challah v'Datochlon, Lo Nisan Hashem Noch Meseches Challah v'Klis Hashem No Lo Ba'amadem Lo Ba'amadasi. Yerushalmi Challah-Siyum Elohim ve'Yevosenu Shetrei Torah Schom Nosenu B'Lom Hazeh Soimonu L'Lom Haba Chanina Bar Papa Ryan Bar Papa Nachman Bar Papa Achoy Bar Papa Abamori Bar Papa Rafram Bar Papa Rachish Bar Papa Suchar Bar Papa Ado Bar Papa Doro Bar Papa Harev No Adonai Elohim Divrei So Yisrael Finu Fiviyos Amcha B'Yisrael Niyeh Kulanu Anachnu V'Tzatzayim V'Tzatzayim Amcha B'Yisrael Kulani Yodei Shmecha V'Amdei Sorasecha Noavei T'Chachmenim Mitzasecha Kiliyolom Hili Hili B'Tamim B'Chukech L'Man Lo Yivosh Lo Olam Lo Shkach B'Kudecha Kivom Chisani Baruch Atah Adonai Lamdeni Chukecha Amen 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 Selavai Modim Anachnu L'Fanecha Eloheinu Ve'Yevosenu Shesamtecha Elokeinu Yosher Beis HaMedrash Los Yosher Kronos Shana Mashkimim V'Hem Mashkimim Ona Mashkimim Divrei Torah V'Hem Mashkimim Dvorim B'Telim Ona Amelim V'Hem Amelim Ona Amelim Mekablim Sachar V'Hem Amelim V'Hem Mekablim Sachar Ona Rotzim V'Hem Rotzim Ona Rotzim L'Chayel L'Maba V'Hem Rotzim L'Vershachas Shenemar V'Ato Elohim Teredein L'Vershachas Ad Sheidom Yirmiyam L'Yechtzim Mehem V'Ani Yiftach Bach Yerushalmi Fanecha Eloheinu Kishem Shazaltanu L'Sayim Meseches Challah Kein Tazreinu L'Aschil Mesechtos L'Sforim Acheim L'Sayim Om Lilmod L'Lamed Lishmor V'Lasos L'Lokayim Es Kol Divrei Talmud Tarosecha B'Yavo Schus Kol Tanoim V'Amoraim V'Talmidei Chachamim Yamod Lanu L'Zarenu Shloemu Shatorah Mipinu P'Zarenu V'Zer Zarenu Ad Olam Tiskayim Bono B'Yisalecha Tanchoscha V'Shach B'Cha Tishmor Alecha V'Akitzosa Hi Tisichecha Kivi Yirbu Yamecha V'Sif L'Cha Shnos Chaim Archimim B'Minam B'Yismol Osher V'Chavod Anoy Oz Amayitein Anoy V'Recha Samo V'Shal